Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. Well, I'm not Jeronimo Macanas. He's the CEO of the company. He's my partner. But I'm going to talk about the same question. We are going to talk about video recommendation using machine learning to improve recommendations when using premium video content. A little bit about who I am. Here, the relevant part of my CV, let's say, is when I joined the video industry back 2009, and it was all about delivering video through the internet. Those years, we had some web pages showing some videos, but we didn't have all the devices that you have now in the market and all the different offerings that are right now. This is one relevant point. The other relevant point that brings me here, it's last year we founded together Jump, which is a big data analytics company for the video industry, verticalized for the video industry. We will tell you a little bit what we do, but I think it's good. I like this quote from Jim Barksdale from Netscape, and it's funny because we find this in the market quite often. He says this at the end. It's like, okay, when he was meeting with his board of directors, and they were giving opinions and what they thought it was going to be better. And at the end, he said, like, okay, if you're going to give me your opinion, let's go with mine. It's kind of old-fashioned style, but it's more, it reflects what happens nowadays. Everybody has to go to the meeting with a lot of data behind to support their opinion at the end. Well, what we do, I would like to explain a little bit what we do at Jump. Basically, we have a cloud data-driven video platform. And the idea is we build it because we saw a niche in the market that now, in the year 2017, almost finishing, if you take a look at Spain, for instance, we already have many, many brands competing around the video industry. We already have HBO, Sky, Movistar, Netflix came to Spain, Amazon Prime. So we have almost more than 10 brands and more to come competing against each other for the same amount of users and a certain amount of time available for entertainment. So basically, there's not that much time to spend watching content, so you need to differentiate from the others. So we built this platform with the idea to help these companies differentiate from the others. At the end, Netflix and Amazon and Google, they do this internally with their own resources. They invest a huge amount of money in doing this. Our idea is to verticalize and democratize that technologies to other brands. And our technology basically has 3 modules that tries to solve these 3 problems. Basically, first, analyze what is happening in each video services. You know, we have many devices, many different types of users, and everything can be tracked now in the internet. So that's, first of all, we need to understand what is happening. And then we use machine learning to do predictions of customer behavior or content behavior, business behavior. And then at the end, a lot of companies told us, okay, now we know what happened and what is going to happen, now what? So at the end, you need to use data. So we integrated a marketing automated tool within the platform in order to be able to launch campaigns directly from the same dashboard. So at one moment, you can close the circle of analyzing, predicting, and launching campaigns and acting with the data. This seems quite obvious, but it takes, for big companies, it takes like weeks, even months to do this. We're able to do this within minutes with our platform. Now, let's talk a little bit about the video industry. You probably all are video consumers. Many of you are Netflix subscribers. What happened in the last year is that this is booming, not only in Spain, but you can take at any market. And at the end, there's many, many brands competing, as we say. And it's a fight. There is a huge fight between them to get the market. At the end, the market is, it's going to double in the next years, and you have many of these companies competing against each other. At the end, you have the telcos like Telefónica competing with the broadcasters, competing with the premium TV networks like Fox, for instance. HBO goes direct to consumer. So there is a lot of things happening in the market, and this fight is good for companies like us and other companies extracting data, because at the end, the ones that manage correctly the data and do the right actions with those data are the ones that are going to be able to compete with the big ones like Netflix or Amazon or Google. This is the idea, and it's a little bit what is happening in the market, in the video market. second. Okay. Now, this is pretty much already known in the market, but it's good to remind that for a video service to success, there's three main factors. The first one is content. Everybody knows this. Content is king, but it's not the only factor. And a good example here is with Game of Thrones, which probably it's one of the best contents you can create. It was created by HBO, and the content is really amazing, but what happens is that if you subscribe to HBO, once you finish watching HBO, and the season is over, many of the subscribers leave the service because they don't find anything else, and HBO is not doing the right actions to retain these people. So this content is really relevant, of course, but there are other two factors that are really relevant. The next one is about devices. Talking about devices, if this works. So at the end, all this content now is being watched. Before, it used to be watched only in the TV, then the desktop. Now you have a wide variety of devices where content is being consumed constantly. So at the end, it's all about also the UX and the UI experience. How I see this content, how I navigate through the content, how it's shown to me, how easy it is to find it within its different services. Depending on the device, how I approach the consumer. So basically, these are another factor to differentiate from the others. At the end, then we have video recommendations. So once you have a good content and the right UX in the different devices, then it's all about recommendations also. So now it's like pretty clear that these services provide a good quality, good content, but the thing is that there's so many content to find that it's not easy to access. And at the end, if you don't find the right content, you leave the service. And consumers nowadays are really unfaithful. So if they are navigating through the app and they don't like it and they don't find the content, they will leave. They will go somewhere else, and they will never come back. So this is really dangerous, and we need to do good recommendations to keep the customers engaged to the service. This is something that Netflix provides, which is one of the companies that do the best in recommendation, but you will find that it's not even optimal yet. It's not even close to be optimal. And we will see why this happens. They say that around 80% of the content consumed in their service is done through their recommendations, which is really amazing. But they can really be improved let's say, easily in using machine learning and some techniques. Okay. Now, video recommendations. How do they work, basically? One sec. First of all, this is really good. Okay, let's stay there. Why recommendations are so important? And I'm trying to stop here 1 second because I think it's really key. First, I was saying, we always mention Netflix because they are the ones that have more titles available. They have more than 30,000 titles. So you just imagine going to the video club and having 30,000 movies to pick which one to see. So at the end, you need like the old guy telling you which was the last good movie. Well, this is kind of similar. So we need to have some kind of tools to find the content among those titles. For example, in Movistar, when you have light channels, before we used to have a couple of channels when I was little. Later on, you had 6 channels. Now, only in Movistar has 200 channels. In Vodafone, you have another 200 channels. And this is live content, so you need to search constantly for content. There's some numbers we made, like imagine everybody spends 15 minutes on a daily basis searching for content. How long do we think this is for on a period of a lifetime? How long do we spend searching for content? Well, the guess is around 1 year. And the thing is, this 1 year is not only time, but it's also frustration of searching for something you don't find, and you don't feel like getting home and starting losing time by searching what to look for. So people like what is called the lean back experience, which is basically you want to get there to your house, probably lay down in the sofa and just watch TV without thinking too much because you already are tired of thinking and making decisions on a daily basis. So this is really relevant, and this is something, of course, taking into account, this is entertainment, so it's supposed to be fun, but there are some challenges that we need to solve. So the idea is using machine learning, and then brings us a little bit to the topic. It's already demonstrated that it's improving really dramatically the performance of recommendations. And these are some cases in which, regarding business performance, a huge increase in content consumption, like 120 minutes more TV per week, which is quite amazing, by doing recommendations, or increasing up to 10 times the traffic to a certain application because they use good recommendations, or increasing 25% transaction in a VOD service. This is really business-driven. It's something that using machine learning can, as we see at the end, increment your ARPU up to 8% in some cases, so quite amazing figures. More figures regarding loyalty. For example, and this is also important for later on when we analyze how content recommendations work. But basically, we have up to 14 profiles within a household when we see video. Different profiles. You know, when you log to Netflix or to Amazon and you log with your credentials and your user profile, well, we have up to 14 profiles in a unique household. This is quite amazing. Also, really relevant, when you enter one of these services, when you are already there 3 weeks, around 80 to 90% of the content that you watch comes from the recommendation engine. So even recommendation engines not being really amazing yet, still the numbers are really, really, really powerful. So I want to explain briefly how a machine learning algorithm works regarding recommendation engine. Basically, it's done in 6 steps. There are many companies doing recommendation engines. Some others, they do it internally. Some, they market it. But basically, they all do the same. They, first of all, analyze consumer behavior patterns, when they watch the content, at what time of the day, with what profile, what type of genre is this content, things like that. Then they create a user preference vector, assigning values to this content with the categories, subcategory, and what was most watched on each time of the day, what category, what director, what actor, things like this. Then it elaborates a list of similar movies, also taking into account the categories, the genre, director, actor, things like that. And it selects a number, let's say, of 10 similar movies to watch and to recommend. Also, what these companies do is discard the ones that the client has already watched. That should be quite simple, because that is tracked. Then what the algorithm does is assigns scores to each candidate movie to be recommended in order to later on score those movies and offer to the client the ones that have highest score, okay? And at the end, of course, if there is a tie in some scoring, it uses other metrics like which are most popular in this service in order to offer that one before any other one with the same score. Okay, this is pretty much how it works. And the thing is, of course, if you don't do any recommendation, this is an okay system. But at the end, you have certain problems to face. First of all, and here are the challenges that we need to solve in order to make better recommendations. First of all, most recommendations are using genre in the metadata. At the end, the metadata comes from the Hollywood studios, and what happens is that they are not really accurate. So for example, if we get, again, Game of Thrones is under 3 different categories: drama, action, and adventure. So if you only take this as a recommendation, well, drama, they will be recommending you similar to, let's say, Gone with the Wind. So it doesn't make much sense to put at the same level these 2 content titles. Then the content profiling, which I mentioned before, is important. If I'm watching content under my profile, and then, of course, I'm not going to change the profile and put it under my family profile if I want to watch content with my kids, for instance. So you do it under the same profile at the end. So my profile starts getting some patterns that are not mine real, it's my family. So at the end, I get recommendations about Bob Esponja and Game of Thrones. So these kind of things, of course, is not the optimal situation you want to feel when you lay down and you want to be offered your own content. So at the end, also the most relevant thing with recommendation is that they don't take into account your mood and the situation in which you are, whether you are alone, you're with your family, with your friends. And depending on the situation, sometimes you feel like watching news or sports, or you want to watch a movie or a series, or action, or those kind of things. And this is mood-driven, and it's hard to, it's almost impossible nowadays until there are some companies innovating in that, making cameras in the front of TV, and for instance, doing image recognition and gesture recognition, so they can more or less know whether you're alone, whether you're happy, things like this. But not all the TVs have cameras yet, so this is not easy to implement at the moment. There are some other advances in some other things that we are doing, for instance. And there is a lot of room for innovation. And these are the four that we are investigating. Some other companies are also. And they are, for example, these four lines of improvements for recommendations. The first one is using audio-video recognition for metadata enrichment. We will explain a little bit later. Then using social recommendations, really relevant also what your friends are watching and recommending and sharing. That will have a better value for you than a recommendation coming from, let's say, a web page. Then something with linear and smart guides or EPGs. We will explain a little bit. And then also something about chatbots and personal assistants within the applications. So going a little bit further with each of them, basically what it's done here, for example, using audio-video recognition for metadata enrichment, we were saying before that metadata is not really accurate. So with these techniques, we pretend to enrich the metadata and make it more accurate. So in the case, for example, of, let's say, Game of Thrones again, you can say it's not only adventure, but you can say that there is dragons, swords, horses, whatever we can identify within the video, we can upload it to the metadata files and enrich in order to make better recommendations. So this is one of the techniques we're using to improve recommendations. The second one is about social sharing. Basically here, it's just doing integrations with Facebook and Twitter and start recognizing your friends who you interact with, and then as soon as they upload a content or they talk about a content using sentiment analysis, we are able to evaluate that and put it as a recommendation input into your system. This is something that's also being explored, using recommendations on social networks. This is what can be done, and we are also exploring it around linear TV. So when you sit down and you have 200 channels ordered by number, which is kind of annoying where you want to go, you can personalize the EPG. So if we identify you always watch sports, news, and series on Saturdays, well, on Saturdays we will offer you only that guide in which you have preferable this EPG at front, and of course you can always navigate, but at the end we offer you your personalized guide, which we think is much more powerful. And then at the end, we have the chatbots that I think at the moment is necessary to understand, for example, the mood or the feeling the user has in order to watch a movie. Because if you think about yourself, sometimes you feel like watching action, some others about watching drama, or maybe you want to watch news because it's at night. So some companies are exploring also in doing some 3, 4, 5 questions at the beginning in order to understand how you feel and whether you're alone or you want to watch news or sports or whatever. So at the end, by making 2 or 3 questions, the system will adapt the situation to your mood in that moment. Okay. At the end, what we want to emphasize here a little bit is that you saw 4 innovative explorative techniques we are doing in order to improve recommendations, but we think there are much more room to improve. We are in the really early stages of recommending content. If you are Netflix users or Amazon users, I encourage you to go deeper into what they are recommended, and you will probably find that it can get much better. Other than the recommendations, we are exploring many other data-driven technologies that are disrupting the video market. I think it's worth to mention because at the end they're all using big data and analytics. For example, things about retention, and this is really important. When I was talking about HBO has a 50% churn ratio. If you know what churn ratio is, basically out of 2 customers that join, 1 leaves within the next 1-2 months. So that is really dangerous for that. Netflix has around 9%. So you can imagine the challenges, others in the industry, the average in this industry is between 40 to 50. So it's really a hard industry to compete, and managing data in the right way will, what Netflix is doing quite properly, will help you retain customers. Other than that is being used a lot is audience clustering. By also running all the algorithms within the user's database, you find common clusters in which you will have easier ways to launch campaigns to these people on a more focused way in order to get better results when you launch your marketing campaigns. This is something clients are liking really a lot, because at the end, it's not a segmentation that you do your own segmentation, saying, I want to launch this movie to the kids, and I want to launch this other movie to the millennials or whatever. It's more like the system and the algorithms telling you, guys, you have these clusters here that maybe they don't tell you anything, but maybe some cluster will give you a common pattern in which you can do a direct action that will have a really great impact in your business. So this is also something we are advancing a lot. Also, something is really trendy right now. It's advertisement pressure optimization. What is happening now, and a lot with millennials, which is going to be also the future, and younger people more, they don't stand advertisement as much as we do. You know, I mean, if you watch Antena 3 on broadcasting, they put between 10 to 15 minutes of ads between one cut and the other. While, I mean, if you do that to a millennial in an online video service, he's gone forever. So we are doing some analysis using machine learning in order to understand different targets and the pressure, the advertisement pressure they are able to take. So in some cases, you will have people or clusters that will get, let's say, 2 ads. Some others will get 20 ads. And the idea is to get the optimal pressure so people don't leave, and you maximize the revenues of the company in this case. So, well, we say much more. I encourage everybody to go a little bit deeper in each of these innovative techniques, because there is a lot to do here. In our company, we are hiring, as I think everybody in the industry, because the big data space and the analytics, data scientists are really demanded right nowadays. So if everyone is interested, please talk to me after the show. And well, thank you very much. I ran a little bit more than needed, but as I mentioned, I was called to this presentation this morning, so I tried to do my best. Thank you very much.